During my pregnancy, the whole family reprimanded me just because I drank a bottle of juice to quench my thirst. My son pointed at my nose and started crying. "Why did you drink it? That was my last bottle." My mother-in-law looked at me with contempt. "You're always lazy and greedy, and now you even steal the boy's juice? How selfish." My husband snatched the bottle from my hand and threw it on the floor. "All you do is drink. And now what is the boy supposed to have? How can you be so selfish as a mother?" I looked at that entire family, each holding a bottle of juice, and felt a coldness in my heart. If that's how it is, then let's get a divorce. Rafael frowned. "Are you crazy? Making a fuss over something so small? Besides, you're an adult, arguing with your own son over juice. Aren't you ashamed?" I ignored him and went back to the bedroom to start packing his things. "I bought this house before we got married. So, you and your mother can pack your bags and leave." He looked at me in disbelief and kept arguing while holding an empty juice box. "Seriously, is this necessary? I was just trying to teach you a little lesson, okay? Besides, I didn't say anything wrong. There was only one bottle, you drank it, and now Lucas has nothing. You're a mother now. How can you be so selfish?" He looked at me as if I were an enemy, not his wife. I stared at him coldly. We've been together for 10 years, and during all that time, I took care of his family. I couldn't believe that, in return, I was being reprimanded for drinking a juice. I remembered when I received a 10,000 real bonus and took the whole family shopping. We spent an hour in the store, and each of them picked out whatever they wanted. Even though I didn't buy anything for myself, I was happy to see the smiles on their faces. Lucas was beaming with the toy he had always wanted. When we got home, he grabbed a few juice boxes. "This one is for Grandma. She's older and deserves respect. This one is for Dad because he works hard every day." There was one left for him, but none for me. I thought he had just forgotten. I was also thirsty, so I took a bottle and drank it. At that moment, I didn't know that such a simple action would cause such a commotion. "We have 4 boxes of juice here. One was for you, one for your mother, one for Lucas, so why can't I have one? I'm thirsty, I work all day, and when I get home, I take care of everything for the family. Now I can't even have a drink? I'm your wife, not the maid of this house. I'll drink it, and that's that. What's the problem?" Beatriz frowned, hugged Lucas, and started criticizing me. "Look at your mother, always stealing things. She even took your last juice box. What kind of person does that?" Beatriz always did this. Every time Lucas came home from school, she took the opportunity to badmouth me in front of him. I never understood why. After all, I was his mother, and she gained nothing by slandering me. I ran to them, pulled Lucas close to me, and covered his ears. "Beatriz, how long are you going to keep doing this? I'm tired of you. You just want to destroy our family. Isn't that why you always badmouth me in front of Lucas? What's your problem? Do you take pleasure in criticizing others? If you keep this up, I'll teach you a real lesson." She screamed in fear and tried to pull away, but I didn't let her. "What are you doing? I'm your mother-in-law." Rafael tried to intervene, but I ignored him. I grabbed Beatriz's face and pushed her against the wall. "Now you've learned to stop talking too much, haven't you?" She was so scared she couldn't even move. She just looked at me with hatred. Lucas, who had been drinking juice, suddenly ran forward, ignoring the fact that I was pregnant. He pushed me and stood in front of her, trying to protect her. "You're a horrible woman. Why are you hitting my grandma?" I didn't expect Lucas to push me so suddenly. I staggered and almost lost my balance. Beatriz took advantage of the moment, held her face, and started crying loudly. "Lucas, look at what your mother did. My face hurts so much." Beatriz collapsed onto the floor, refusing to get up, making a huge scene. Rafael stood beside her, making everything worse. "Lucas, your mother is terrible. Not only did she drink your juice, but now she's treating your grandma like this. What a horrible woman." Hearing that, Lucas lost control. He screamed and ran toward me, hitting my belly with all his strength. Bad mom. Bad mom. Don't you dare bother my grandma. You're a horrible woman. I don't want you as my mother. I didn't have time to dodge, and his head slammed into my stomach, sending a sharp pain shooting through my body. My vision blurred, and I felt something warm running down my legs. I looked down and saw blood. I clutched my belly in agony, my face twisting in pain. Quickly, take me to the hospital. Lucas hesitated for a moment, then reached for his phone to call an ambulance, but Beatriz stopped him. She scoffed at me, spitting on the ground. Rafael, don't let this woman fool you. She was strong enough to hit me before, and now she suddenly needs an ambulance? Suddenly, Rafael put his phone away and looked at me with contempt. My mother is right. You're lazy, and I've been way too lenient with you. Even Lucas, my own son, stood beside them, looking at me as if I were a stranger. It felt like a punch to the heart. This was the family I had cared for over the past 10 years, and in the end, they treated me like I was nothing. It was as if my heart was being torn apart. I couldn't hear anything anymore. The pain was too overwhelming, and I blacked out. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed, but I felt that something was missing inside me. Beatriz was sitting beside me. When she saw that I was awake, she rolled her eyes. Such a drama queen. You lost the baby. Rafael frowned. The doctor said the miscarriage was caused by stress and nerves. Did you really need to make such a big scene over a box of juice? I lay in the hospital bed, staring coldly at the man speaking in front of me. For the first time, I felt like I was truly seeing him for who he was. Rafael, I married you. I am part of this family. When I got my bonus, the first thing I thought of was buying things for all of you. And yet, just because I wanted to drink a box of juice that cost less than 2 reis, you all turned on me? My voice was firm, and the man in the bed beside mine turned to look, giving Rafael a disapproving glance. What kind of world do we live in? Your wife just wanted a drink, and you yelled at her? Don't be sad, miss. I have some fresh fruit here. Take some. I looked at the fresh fruit he offered me, and my heart ached. I didn't cry when Rafael, Beatriz, and Lucas scolded me for drinking a box of juice. I didn't cry when I found out I had lost my second baby. But now, when a stranger showed me kindness, I couldn't hold back my tears. They slowly rolled down my face. Rafael's expression darkened. His pride as a man had been wounded. Clenching his teeth, he glared at me, his face twisted in disgust. Juliana, are you really this greedy? Do you just accept anything anyone gives you? I'm not saying you can't have anything, and I'm not a stingy man. If you want something, I'll buy it for you. Why are you making such a big deal over something so insignificant? Rafael acted as if he was completely in the right, as if he hadn't been the one who stopped me from taking the juice in the first place. All right then, you can pay for this fruit. I challenged him. His expression twisted as he quickly glanced at the price tag. Hey, that man said he was giving it to you. Paying for it would ruin his kind gesture. He justified himself. I let out a sarcastic laugh. Rafael, you have 1 week to pack your things and move in with your mother. I'll send you the divorce papers later. Hearing the word divorce again, Rafael completely lost his composure. He slammed his hands on the table, then covered his head, looking utterly frustrated. Why, Juliana? Why do you have to say something like that? Do you have any idea how much pressure I deal with at work every day? Then, when I come home, I have to take care of my mother, you, and Lucas. Do you think 2 reis means nothing? Do you know how hard it is to earn them? I couldn't hold back anymore. If I remember correctly, I'm the one who pays for most of the household expenses. I've never seen a single cent from your 5,000 real salary. You say making 2 reis is hard, but you've never earned anything for me, have you? Maybe you should ask yourself why, after all your effort, you can't even spare 2 reis to buy your wife a drink. Hearing my words spoken out loud in front of everyone, he completely lost control. In a fit of rage, he raised his hand as if to hit me. I stared at his raised hand, the anger burning in his eyes, and for a second, I felt a mix of fear and disgust. But before he could act, he hesitated. Slowly, he lowered his hand, muttering something I couldn't understand. But the damage was already done. It wasn't just the gesture, it was what it meant. It was the line he was willing to cross to protect his pride. Something inside me broke for good. I knew. My voice came out low but firm. I knew you were selfish, Rafael, but I never thought you were a coward too. He stared at me, confused, maybe still processing what he had just done, or almost done. Now let me tell you something. This was the last straw. I don't want to hear any more excuses. I don't want this life anymore. He tried to argue, his voice wavering between frustration and desperation. Juliana, you're overreacting. I didn't do anything. I was just angry. I'm exhausted. Don't you understand the pressure I'm under every day? My mother, Lucas, everything depends on me. Depends on you. I let out a bitter, ironic laugh that echoed through the room. Are you serious? The only thing that depends on you is your pride. Ridiculous. Who pays for this house? Who takes care of Lucas? Who puts up with your mother's abuse every day while you hide behind excuses? Me. And you know what? I'm done with it. He stood frozen, as if I had just slapped him. But this time, he was the one who didn't know what to say. Before he could react, I turned and went to the bedroom. I started pulling his clothes out of the closet, tossing them into an old suitcase that had been sitting in the corner. Every piece I threw in felt like a weight being lifted off my shoulders. I didn't hear footsteps behind me, but I knew he was there, standing at the door, watching me. Juliana, you're not serious. Think about Lucas. Think about our family, he pleaded, his voice almost desperate. Family. I turned to face him, feeling the heat of my anger bubbling inside me. What family, Rafael? The family that blames me for everything? The family that left me bleeding on the floor while they debated whether I deserved a drink? That's not a family, that's a prison. He fell silent, maybe for the first time, with no argument to throw back at me. I kept packing his things, ignoring his murmurs behind me. It didn't matter anymore. My decision was made. Hours later, when he finally realized that arguing was pointless, he left the room, probably to call his mother and tell her his twisted version of the story. I finished packing his things and put them in the living room. Then I grabbed my phone and sent a message to a lawyer a coworker had recommended months ago. I never thought I'd actually use that number, but there I was, taking control of my life. The next morning, Rafael was sitting on the couch, his expression defeated but still stubborn. You're really going to kick me out? Do this to Lucas? He asked, using our son as his last attempt to manipulate me. Lucas will be fine. He's my son, and I'll take care of him, but that doesn't mean you get to stay here. This is over, Rafael. I deserve better. He left a few hours later, dragging his suitcases behind him, but not before giving me one last resentful look. I didn't react. There was nothing left to say. With him gone, the house felt different. Emptier, yes, but also lighter. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. I knew the battle was far from over. The divorce, the custody discussions over Lucas, the inevitable attacks from his mother. But I was ready. There was nothing they could do to make me go back. Days later, as I was settling into my new routine, I received an unexpected call from Beatriz, his mother. She started as always, accusing me of being a bad wife, of destroying the family. Do you think you'll be happy alone? Who would want a woman like you, with a child and no one to support you? This time, I didn't waste my breath responding. I simply hung up on her and blocked her number. There was no longer room in my life for people like her. I decided to focus on my job, on my son, and, most importantly, on myself. Over time, Rafael tried to come back, saying he had changed, that he realized the mistake he had made. But it was too late. I didn't need him anymore. I didn't need anyone who didn't know how to value me. Looking back, I realized that losing that marriage was actually a gain. I had freed myself, and now, for the first time in years, I was ready to live the life I deserved. After Rafael left for good, the following week was chaotic but liberating. Organizing my life on my own was a challenge, but every step I took felt like a personal victory. The divorce hearing was scheduled for 2 months later, And in the meantime, I focused all my energy on work and on Lucas. I knew he was confused and, in part, influenced by everything his father's family had said about me. I decided that the best way to help him was to stay calm and be an example of strength. However, Rafael didn't make things easy. He started showing up at Lucas's school unannounced, bad-mouthing me to the teachers, trying to paint me as a negligent mother. One afternoon, the principal called me in for a meeting, saying that Rafael had made an informal complaint against me, claiming I was emotionally unstable after the divorce. I was furious, but I kept my composure. That was exactly what he wanted, to destabilize me. Calmly, I explained the situation to the principal, making it clear that he was trying to use Lucas as a tool for revenge. Knowing he wouldn't stop there, I decided to take a more decisive approach. I hired a lawyer specializing in child custody and started gathering evidence of Rafael's manipulative and negligent behavior. Statements from neighbors about his constant absences, abusive messages he had sent me during our marriage, and even testimonies from co-workers who knew how he spent money on frivolous things while I supported the family. My goal was clear: to ensure that he had no chance to manipulate Lucas or interfere in our lives. The day of the hearing arrived, and Rafael looked confident, wearing a smug smile that made me nauseous. Isabel was by his side, as always, casting superior glances. However, as my lawyer presented the evidence, I watched Rafael's face start to contort. He tried to interrupt several times, but the judge ordered him to remain silent. The abusive messages, the financial records showing he never contributed to household expenses, and even Lucas's own statements about Rafael's indifference at home were enough to turn the case in my favor. In the end, the judge not only granted me full custody of Lucas but also ruled that Rafael had to pay child support. Additionally, he was prohibited from approaching Lucas without prior authorization. The ruling was a decisive victory, but what truly stuck with me was Rafael's expression as he left the courtroom. It wasn't just defeat, it was humiliation. After that, I decided it was time for a real fresh start. I requested a job transfer to another city where Lucas and I could have a new beginning, far from all the toxicity. Before leaving, I did something I had wanted to do for a long time. I confronted Isabel one last time. I went to her house, knowing Rafael was hiding there. When she opened the door, she wasn't expecting to see me and tried to shut it in my face, but I was faster. Enough with the games, Isabel. You spent years poisoning my marriage, humiliating me, and using Lucas against me, but it's over. Rafael lost, and so did you. She tried to respond, but I cut her off. You can stay in your bitterness, in this house that reeks of the past. I, on the other hand, am going somewhere better with my son, and you will never have a place in our lives again. Rafael appeared behind her, visibly defeated. Juliana, please, can't we work this out? I made mistakes, but I raised my hand to stop him. No, Rafael. You made choices, and those choices brought you here. Now it's too late. I went back home feeling like I had finally closed that chapter. A few weeks later, Lucas and I moved to the new city. It was difficult at first, but the change brought a sense of renewal. Little by little, he started opening up to me again, and our bond grew stronger. I worked hard, earned a promotion, and for the first time in years, I felt truly free. As for Rafael and Isabel, I heard that things only got worse for them. Rafael lost his job due to his emotional instability, and Isabel, with no one left to manipulate, became more and more isolated. I didn't feel pity, only relief. They were reaping what they had sown. Today, when I look back, I see how much that marriage taught me. Not about love, but about my own worth. I learned that no matter how much people try to break us, we can always find a way to rebuild. And that's exactly what I did.